What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Daily Groomer podcast. I'm your host, Alex Martin. And today, guys, this is a really special one. This is another first for us here at the Daily Groomer podcast. We have actually found someone, and I say someone, Jose, who's sitting right across from me for all of you visual watchers right now. For all of you audio listeners, we'll have to give it a second. But we have found someone who has bought 3 pet care businesses in the last, let's call it 2 years. And why this is crazy is he's bought 3, not only 1, but 3. But 2, he agreed to come on the podcast today and share why, how, what, when, how it all went down. And so if you are interested in ever buying a pet care business, or B, interested in selling your grooming business or pet care business, this is going to be a rock star episode for you to listen to. So without further ado, let's get into it. Jose Rodriguez, welcome to the show, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on and agreeing to share all of this.
No, thank you, Alex, for the invitation. It's been a interesting journey, and it's the first time I have the opportunity to share like this.
No, I love it, man. I love it. So, okay, guys, we had to jump right into this because Jose and I were going off on tangent after tangent before hitting the record button here. So I'm going to try and rewind us though for a second, Jose. Pretend that we didn't have that 15, 20 minute yap sesh before this. Tell me once again, just give us a background of what you have right now. You know, I know you're up in Seattle. Tell me about your current day business structure, and then we'll rewind the clock to how you got there.
Perfect. So today I am the owner of 3 dog businesses here in Seattle. One is called Seattle Canine Club that has 2 locations. And the second one is called Dog City, which was the most recent acquisition. So we still operate under the same brand. The first location of Seattle Canine Club is a doggy boarding and daycare facility in which we also launched grooming in 2024. We bought this location in 2023. The second location is Seattle Canine Club Dog Grooming and Self-Wash. It's a 400 square feet self-washing business that since acquisition, we also added a groomer on site, and we do creative groomer and specific catering to a specific kind of grooming and groomer needs. And the newest acquisition is Dog City, West Seattle, which is a mainly grooming business with also daycare. No boarding, or it did not have boarding when I acquired. We already launched boarding since then in 3
Okay.
months.
So all 3 of your current, let's call it facilities, are grooming, boarding, and daycare. I guess the second one you were saying is just self-washing grooming. Is that right?
Self-washing grooming. That's correct.
But the other 2 are boarding, daycare, and grooming.
That is correct.
Okay, got it. Okay, so we're covering all realms of the dealio here, guys. So it's not just grooming. Obviously, Jose's got more than that, but the same lessons and stories here should apply. All right, Jose. I already know this, so I'm going to jump ahead, but you are not native to the pet care business. Take me back all the way now to what made you want to start buying pet care businesses and running them.
So my background is in technology. Actually, I went to electronic engineering school back in Venezuela. I was born there in Venezuela. I have the privilege of having a Spanish passport and migrated from Venezuela to Spain back in the early 2000s, worked in telecommunications, then became a technology entrepreneur, as people dream of the Silicon Valley stories, but I am part of those mostly failures than success out there. Started multiple businesses, had the opportunity to sell my last one, but nothing fancy, not a millionaire, definitely. Then joined Amazon, in which I have been working for almost 9 years until recently. I'm a father of 2, and it turns out that I married a girl from Seattle, who is the culprit or the reason that brought me to Seattle. I was loving what I did. I love technology. I love the world of technology, but it became a point in which I felt lost on. I didn't know why I was doing it, and it was very difficult from the mental state. We were always on a let's change the world sort of situation mindset. And I didn't know where or why I was doing it. I always wanted to go back to being a business owner, and I love being a mentor and a coach to others, giving opportunities, and I love dogs. And one thing led to another that brought me into the dog industry, and now I truly can say that I love what I do. I love our customers because like working with dogs is one of the most rewarding things in the world. And I have had the privilege to also work with amazing people in this industry who have taught me or continues to teach me a lot about dogs, and our customers who also, as you can imagine, are dog lovers themselves.
Okay. So that prompted the why dogs and everything like that. Why, like, what prompted the, I don't want to say the crazy, but definitely the outside the box thought of, let me go buy a current business instead of, hey, starting one.
Sure. I've started business in the past, and I know it's very difficult. Anybody who has a business out there knows how difficult it is to start a business. And I came across a lady named Cody Sanchez that we've mentioned before, and she is a social media influencer and talks very publicly about this, so anybody can go and find her. She talks very publicly about boring businesses and how it is much more difficult to start a business than to buy, how much it is in the world that there's so many baby boomers retiring these days and not enough young people buying these businesses. The opportunity that a lot of businesses don't have enough technology or are taking advantage of the technology out there for the sake of delivering a great customer experience, reducing costs, and automate mundane tasks that we have every day as business owners. And that led me to explore, hey, what's out there. I did a due diligence in a couple of businesses, different industries to check. And through being a customer of the dog industry, I knew Seattle Canine Club and had the opportunity to meet the owner, the founder, in words of acquisition. He wanted to retire. He was literally did not have a succession plan. He was looking to put the business in the market, and something that initially became kind of a joke with my wife. 3 months later, I became the proud business owner of Seattle Canine Club, and since then, it's just a snowball. Like the more I look into this business, the more I want to buy more. The more I want to grow, and there's a huge opportunity of creating amazing experiences that we're used to in the world of online shopping or internet into this industry here.
Interesting. Okay. So obviously you love dogs, but were there some high level numbers that or not even numbers, but just high level signs that stuck out to you on why to take the risk in entering the pet care market?
Yes. So on one side, the margins are great in the dog industry, looking at it from the complete financial point of view. But more than the margins themselves, because if you go to, for example, the food industry and restaurants, you're talking about like single-digit margins. Dog industry has double-digit margins comfortably everywhere you look at it. But the most important part of the dog industry is the recurrency of customers. Seattle Canine Club has a customer has been coming here for 20 years. Is customer number one. She is on her 5th dog today, and she keeps on coming. And I've seen that happening everywhere in grooming, in boarding, in daycare. If you offer a great service, the recurrency of customers is amazing. You don't need that many customers. You just need to do a great job with your existing customers, and you will have that recurrency, which is something you don't see in almost any other industry, like the pet care. And that together with good margins and lack of technology is a very powerful combination to invest.
Okay. No, I mean, that makes lots of sense. So it seems like at a high level, if we were to break this down, you like pets. That's what it is. Simply
Yes.
as that, you're like, I like pets. I want to get into this, right? Go down one layer and it's, okay, hey, there actually is an element of recurring income here, which I really like. And in this specific business or the specific opportunity that you were looking at, the lack of technology was also there. But I want to go drill down one more layer here,
Mhm.
Jose. And you mentioned looking at the numbers, right? Give me a 101 as a first-time buyer. What numbers are the most important for me to look at if I'm looking at buying a pet care business?
You're looking for three main numbers. You're looking for income. So what's the business income and how is that broken down by different, let's say, units? If it's daycare, boarding, grooming, and within each of them, how are you breaking them? How is recurrency happening within those customers and so on? You want to really understand how is the money coming in. Seattle Kennel Club was 80% boarding, 20% daycare, nothing else. Now we have diversified a lot, and now we have about 50% boarding, 30% daycare, and we have a 20% grooming. And grooming growing fast or faster than any of the other two because it's newer. The next category that you want to look at is human costs. Human costs are always the main expense in any business, especially in any brick and mortar business. So you want to really understand that one, the current ownership has done a good job in structuring those costs, and that they are reasonable and that they have good people behind them. Because it's not only the number, but you want to look at how long has certain employees been on the business. I can talk City, and I'm sure she's going to hear these podcasts at a certain point. I love that who managers are there, and Andy, who's been with Dog City for 9 years. Having a manager for 9 years, she knows more of the business than I will ever dream of. And that is priceless. So it's very important. At the contrary, I had the opportunity to do the due diligence on a business that they were spending 80% of their income in human cost. That already, it was a huge red flag, and I would not be able to move forward because the person was an absentee owner and basically let that fall apart to the point that I was like, if you want to restructure those costs, you will lose all the talent, meaning that the business would go very bad at the beginning, at least. And lastly, you want to look at the overhead costs, the building cost, right? That's usually the biggest cost that you will have after human costs, but that in this industry, also water consumption, electricity consumption, the utilities that become a recurrent cost there are very important to look at, that they're within normal ranges and that you're negotiating well that part. If those three numbers, if you got good income, good people and cost structure around the people, and good overhead, you got a good opportunity here in front of you.
Okay. I love that. So that was a little one-on-one class. Now let's assume that, every business is different and every maybe comfort level as well is different, right? But let's assume that as we're going through your first acquisition, I'm comfortable now with what's on paper. I mean, Jose, how did you come up with the dollar amount that is worth paying for that business, right?
There are multiple avenues to come up with buying a business. So if you are considering either buying or starting a business, you're already in a position with some capital. It cost me about 20% of the total acquisition of the business to acquire this business. Luckily, there is a global program in the US called the Small Business Association loans, SBA loans, and they're very good financing conditions, and they do finance, I believe, 80+% of a transaction. So if you're not familiar with this, look at them. There are banks who specialize on those specific SBA loans. I work with a very local bank here, and I'm very happy to have found a banker that loves to work with small businesses and has experience in these kind of transactions. So he walked me through the whole process and has become a trusted person for me. It's important that there are three key members that you need to have good relationship with. Is a banker, a CPA, and a lawyer. right? You always need those three. Those are kind of the necessary evils of our society. I love the three of them. So if Maria hears me, if Mike hears me, and if Mike hears me, which is my lawyer, thank you all. I love you and I hate your professions, but we all need you. And then the rest, that 20% can either come from your savings, it can come from friends who trust and build with you, so you can share that business with someone. And the remaining, that 80%, could be either my first transaction with Seattle Kennel Club, it was done by the bank and the Small Business Association. Second transaction was also an SBA loan. And the third transaction, actually the founder, we negotiated that she didn't need the money. She was retiring, so she wanted to actually not have to pay that much taxes all up front, because when you sell a business and you get a certain amount of money, you need to pay taxes on those. So we broke the payments into 5 years, so she's getting a salary for the next 5 years. That way, this is called seller financing. I'm paying her an interest, so she's even making more money than she sold it for because of those interests. But I'm paying a less rate than I would pay a bank, and I have enough collateral for that.
Yeah. Okay, so then give me at least some sort of idea, Jose. Obviously, you are buying boarding businesses, and maybe grooming is a little bit different. But let's just say for the businesses that you're buying, what kind of multiples are you seeing out there? Like, at least what kind of range of multiples have you been seeing out there with your three?
Yes. So important when buying a business, you don't want to buy too much of a small business. So if you think, like, I believe in grooming, the smallest business could be a one-person show, thinking of the typical grooming van, right? That business alone is if you're not a groomer, which I am not, that is something I would not get into, because I would not have enough margins to sustain myself, to be profitable there. Then, so you're looking at what do you call seller discretionary earnings, which is the salary plus the dividends of a business plus any expenses that you can claim as a benefit for the owner, let's say a car, insurance, or the cell phone. The sum of that is at least what it would pay a great manager's salary, like 100 grand, maybe. Let's call it that way to round these things up. 100 grand in San Francisco is not really a good salary. 100 grand in other parts of the United States is an amazing salary. So, and then from that point, any business that makes 100 grand and up, then you want to have a multiplier. Building a business that sells $1 million with 100 grand of profit, or seller discretionary earnings, or 10% margins there, it's an average business. Sometimes you see 15, 20, 25% margins there. And you want a multiplier somewhere between 2.5 to 5 times. 5 times if it's a 2.5, 3, 4 million business. It's more difficult to build a $4 million business than a $1 million business. So this is rewarded by those multipliers.
Okay, got it. That makes sense. Okay, wow. That's a good little mental framework to think about what I should be paying for these businesses.
Correct. So 100 grand seller discretionary earnings, 3 times is 300,000. That's a low ball, like the low numbers that you're looking for acquiring a grooming business. A grooming business that does $500,000 in sales with 20% margins, that's it. It's a 300 to a plus transaction. A business that sells $1 million and has that same 20%, you could be looking into a 3.5, 4 times. So you're looking at that $800,000 transaction.
Okay, got it. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Most smaller grooming businesses out there, grooming only, let's call them, would have, lower than 1 multiples, let's call it.
Yes, I would assume most grooming businesses are in the ballpark between, depending on the US, how much you charge, is somewhere between 250 grand in sales to $1 million in sales. Okay. And then so acquisitions are somewhere in the ballpark to 250,000 for the low end to $1 million in the top end.
Okay, so let's keep pulling on that thread. Let's say we've got some listeners out there that want to eventually sell their businesses. Mm-hmm. What can I do as a business owner to make sure that multiple that we're talking about here, or really, in simpler terms, that my acquisition price is is the best. Yeah. What can I do right now to get my business in a position that it is that way?
So first of all, plan ahead. We all run our business very differently. We all have ways that we do our accounting and our books. So if you're looking to sell, you need to plan at least a couple of years in advance, right? So you don't sell from one day to the next or from 6 months to the next. It takes time. And the more you plan, the easier it will be to achieve that best value for your business. Books, keep your books very clean and making sure that all the numbers are very well accounted for, because I am a very thorough person when it comes to looking at those books during due diligence, and I will find anything that it's hidden between numbers. I have a CPA that would look into every detail of the tax returns of a business that I'm doing a business acquisition. And if I find inconsistencies, I will pull that thread in my favor. Because we do sign agreements that the information is truthful and to the best of the knowledge of the seller. So planning and having your books very clean, it's important there. Then once you know that, then start working towards lowering your cost. There is a lot of opportunity, like stop investing in new equipment, like renovations and all of those, that in order to make sure that you are making the most and just focusing on the costs that need to happen for each transaction, for like keeping your shampoos, your utilities all in check, but not necessarily buying new tubs, not necessarily buying new dryers that are very expensive, just maintaining those ones that you're working with. Maximize your sales is try to bring as many of your recurring customers through that period. You need to be very secretive about this because you want to make sure that your employees do not run away through the process of this. I've seen cases in which the information gets out and it creates kind of a fight between employees, or what is going to happen with them. And a lot of businesses might lose them or lose them too early. And that will be a very bad thing for it to happen. And if you never done this before, look yourself for a broker. There are business brokers out there that their job is to help you through this. I have a good group of friends here in Seattle. They have a business in beauty and healthcare, a spa, and they do hairdressing and all that, nothing to do with the pet industry. And because of my acquisition, they asked me sort of the same question, and I put them in touch with a business broker who's literally helping them clean all those books, helping them plan, and it's a 2-year plan. And they already told me that like they have uncovered a lot of things they would not have even thought of, that a business would audit them on a due diligence. And now they are hopefully selling by like end of this year. They've been already a year and a half in the plan. And they know already they have already doubled the value of what they thought they would sell because of that business broker. So he's earning his commission, basically. They're usually commission based. So they will quickly audit that.
One question I have is, you were talking there, Jose, about getting my business as a grooming business ready to go for acquisition. One of the bigger pushbacks I hear from potential acquirers in, let's call it maybe just the grooming only space, is that they're not buying anything outside of just groomers. And you already mentioned it yourself, but fact that, if you have that person that's a killer, right, that's been there for maybe 8-9 years, or maybe that just knows the business forwards and backwards, if they leave, you're in a lot of trouble.
Yes.
So how do you reconcile, like, what you can do to make your business a little bit more attractive than just, hey, this person's just buying your team of 3 to 4 groomers and your lease?
Yes. So it is maybe perceived that part. You are buying great talent, and that comes with a risk of them leaving. And that is a good part of the due diligence. You need to make sure that payment structure, it's in a point in which you can add a differentiating value. In all my acquisitions, I was able to, within months or if not weeks, raise salaries of everybody. because I already knew that they were being underpaid by the by the current owner, and I could come in already raising salaries. That's already a big win to retain them.
Okay.
Usually, someone that is being grooming or being a front desk for a business for many years, even if the business sells, they're not there necessarily for like short-term things. So you really need to do things bad to lose those employees. And in my case, I hopefully one day I will make Andy like a partner, almost to that point. I believe sharing the ownership and giving dividends to these employees, to key employees, is a good way to retain them. But you don't only buy employees; you buy also the customer base, and
Right.
that is that is the most expensive undervalued item on an acquisition.
Okay.
When I bought Seattle Kennel Club, there was 8,000 members in that email list. Right, within a month, we were emailing all of them. Lots of them did not have their dogs, so we cleaned that database very quickly. And within 3 months, there is no other way to be profitable on month one if you're not acquiring a business. I broke even in all these 3 acquisitions on the first month. So, and I was already green. I was already busy 100% in all of those business, and I've grown thanks to those conditions of great employees, good customers, and low technology, as being able to grow all these businesses. Seattle Canine Club has grown over 100% in a year and 10 months that I've owned it in revenue. Dog City, in 3 months, we're already up 20% of sales.
Yeah,
we went from 2.5 groomers to we're 5 groomers today.
That's so crazy. One other thing that I know you and I were talking about before we hit record, that I think is also important. If you're a business owner out there and you want to prep for an acquisition, and maybe even if you are a smaller shop, whether you've got 2 or 3 mobiles on the road, whether it's just you, or it's, you've got one location and a few groomers in it. Jose, you looked at how many of those customers are recurring. And so I think that's, I don't want to say an easy lever to pull because it's not easy, but let's say it's straightforward. The path to get there is pretty straightforward. It's pretty laid out, where me as the business owner, if I can increase the number of customers that are recurring, that have recurring appointments, that makes my business a lot more desirable because you as a buyer understand it. Almost, I don't want to say mitigates risk, but you can almost see what my cash flow is for the rest of the year, right? Because we have those appointments booked out.
Yes, Dog City is an example. Dog City, when I bought it, when I was looking into the due diligence, the last numbers I was looking in September last year had bookings already for March 2025.
That's awesome.
That's amazing. That's money that was already gonna be mine.
Right.
And it's like that's already, I can create forecasts and I could see how long bookings were taking, like how far in advance bookings were taking place. So I could see even that maybe March 2025 was only at 10% booked. I could see that the average booking was done 60 days before, and it was very consistent. Because they were like booking two grooms or 1 groom in advance. So when people were coming for their appointment, before they left the building, they were already booking the next one. So it's like, this is no brainer. I looked into industries like air conditioning, right? Like to mention one of those that crazy other totally different industries that I did a due diligence for. And in that case, this was a company that was doing new installations. So their customers were 5 contractors. That was it. They had only 5 contractors that were doing new jobs. And the 5 contractors literally were not hiring the company. They were hiring the owner. The moment that owner went away, those 5 customers would go away. So that was a huge risky business. I did not end up buying that business, obviously. Compared to grooming, which people are more married to the grooming to the location. They're more married to the groomer themselves. They're more married to the front desk staff, who is the one facing them every day and being helpful over the phone. Not the owner. The owner, depending on if they're absentee, if they are very involved. Each case is very unique. So a buyer will need to do the due diligence at the moment. But Google reviews speak for themselves, and the experience of each case is like each case is unique. The market is unique. We live in Seattle, where I believe, according to Forbes, it's the fifth most dense city when it comes to dogs. Dallas is one of. I know it's in the top ranking, like New
Yeah,
York, Dallas. They're like Phoenix, Arizona. Like there's so many. There are more dogs than kids in this town. So, um,
that's
grooming,
great.
there's more demand than supply, and
Yeah.
it's a beautiful problem to solve as a business. But also, hey, we work with dogs, and dogs are amazing. I just cannot get enough of them.
No, that's right, man. That's right. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Jose, I feel like we could talk about this all day, but I feel like you've given both sides of the coin for those that want to prep their business to one day sell, and for
Yep.
those maybe on the other aggressive side of things that would like to start acquiring businesses. So I want to give people the chance to find you in the case that they have any other questions or just want to check out what you guys have done and what you've built
Sure.
at K9 Club. So what's like the best
Oh, they
website
can
or where
if
people
easily
get
find me at my business email is Jose, Jose, like the city San Jose, at seattlecaninclub.com.
that?
Happy to meet, chat. I love sharing this story. I would love for more people, especially younger, like the younger generation under 30, to become business owners. It's scary, it's daunting. It is not easy to do payroll, taxes, and all that. But uh, this is the way that we fight against the corporates, right? Of taking away the soul of the businesses that we love doing. Something that I'm sure everybody here loves is having those great conversations with customers and dog owners. And we cannot leave the Petcos or the and PetSmarts of the world to take over, right?
I
So
love it. Yeah.
America's dream. I came here for the American dream, which is business ownership and be my own boss. So I'm loving it every day. So I'm happy to share my story so everybody can do it on their own market.
I mean,
Just
amazing.
don't compete with me in West
Yeah,
Seattle.
that's right. Stay out of Seattle for Jose's sake.
Well, you can go North Seattle, East Seattle, or South Seattle. Just stay.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, Jose. I really appreciate the 50,000-foot view on getting your company ready to sell or buying a company in this space. Jose, we'd love to get you in the Facebook group in case anyone else asks some questions, and so we'll get you
Sure.
hooked up once we get off the recording here. But really appreciate it, Dean. Thanks so
Hey,
much for spending
thank you
time with
very much, Alex, for the invitation. It's a pleasure, and again, it's like this is a very small but wonderful community, and sharing is everything here.
That's right. And that's the pod.